He was a philosopher. He was a man of a vision.
He was the boy who became king, the king who died as a boy. His name is King Tut.
If there is one thing ancient Egypt is known for, apart from its famous pyramids, it would be the succession of its almighty pharaohs. However, not all of them met a peaceful end amid the struggle for the control of the ancient world power. In this video, we bring you the tale of the brutal execution of King Tutankhamun. Tutankhamun was one of the most famous pharaohs of ancient Egypt, but he was not always so. He was born Tutankhaten, meaning the living image of Aten, the sun god that his father Akhenaten worshipped. Tutankhaten's early life was marked by dramatic changes in religion, art, and politics, as his father tried to impose a new monotheistic faith on the people of Egypt. Tutankhaten was probably the son of Akhenaten and one of his sisters, as incestuous marriages were common among the royal family. He had several half-sisters but no brothers. He grew up in the new capital city of Akhetaton, or Tel El Amarna, where his father built temples and palaces dedicated to Aten. Tutankhaten was educated in the ways of Atenism and learned to read and write in hieroglyphs and cuneiform. Tutankhaten became king when he was only 8 or 9 years old, after the death of his father or his possible co-regent, Smenkhkare. He inherited a troubled kingdom, as many Egyptians were unhappy with Akhenaten's religious reforms and foreign policy. Tutankhaten was too young to rule by himself, so he relied on the guidance of two powerful advisors, the Grand Vizier and possibly his maternal grandfather, and Horemheb, the commander-in-chief of the army. One of the first decisions that Tutankhaten made as king was to change his name to Tutankhamun, meaning the living image of Amun, the chief god of the traditional Egyptian pantheon. This was a sign that he wanted to restore the old religion and appease the priests and people who had suffered under Akhenaten's rule. He also moved his capital back to Thebes, the ancient city of Amun, and ordered the repair of the damaged temples and statues of the old gods. Tutankhamun also tried to improve Egypt's relations with its neighbors, who had been neglected or attacked by Akhenaten. He sent letters and gifts to the kings of Babylon, Assyria, Hatti, and Mitanni, and married one of their princesses, Ankhesenpaten, later known as Ankhesenamun, who was also his half-sister and the daughter of Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Tutankhamun and Ankhesenamun had 2 daughters, but both died in infancy. Tutankhamun's reign lasted for about 10 years, but he did not accomplish much in that time. He faced many challenges, such as plagues, droughts, rebellions, and conspiracies. He may have been a puppet of his advisors, who had their own agendas and ambitions. He may have also suffered from poor health, as he had a clubfoot, a cleft palate, malaria, and several broken bones. He died around the age of 18, and the question is, how did Tutankhamun die? Tutankhamun was buried in a tomb in the Valley of the Kings, along with many treasures that he hoped to use in his afterlife. His tomb was small and hastily prepared, as he died unexpectedly and without an heir. His tomb was also hidden and protected by a curse, according to legend. That is why it remained intact and undiscovered for over 3,000 years until it was found by archaeologist Howard Carter in 1922. Tutankhamun's tomb revealed a wealth of information about ancient Egyptian culture and history and made him a global icon of mystery and wonder. One of the most popular theories about the demise of King Tut is that he was murdered. The blow to the head. Forensic examinations have consistently pointed to a fracture on the back of King Tut's skull. This injury, concealed beneath layers of embalming material, has been a significant point of contention among historians and forensic experts. Was this fracture the result of a violent altercation, a deliberate blow meant to end the young pharaoh's life? Or could it have been an incidental injury, perhaps sustained during the mummification process or the excavation of the tomb by Howard Carter's team? The broken leg. Advanced imaging techniques, including CT scans, have revealed a significant fracture in King Tut's left leg. The location of the fracture, just above the knee, and signs of associated infection suggest that this injury was not only severe but also recent, occurring shortly before his death. While some argue that this could have been an accidental injury, perhaps from a fall or a chariot mishap, Others speculate that it might have been inflicted intentionally, leading to fatal complications. Hasty burial. Several aspects of King Tut's burial deviate from the norm for Egyptian royalty. His tomb, while filled with treasures, is notably smaller than those of other pharaohs. The layout of the tomb and the arrangement of burial items suggest a certain level of haste and improvisation. Some artifacts bear the names of other royals, hinting at repurposing. This hurried burial has led many to wonder if there was an underlying urgency to conceal the true circumstances of his death. The missing heart. The heart, in ancient Egyptian beliefs, was the seat of the soul and was typically left intact during mummification. However, King Tut's heart was conspicuously absent. This omission is puzzling and has led to theories that it might have been deliberately removed to prevent the young king from testifying about the circumstances of his death in the afterlife. If King Tut was indeed murdered, the next question is, who had the motive, means, and opportunity? Several suspects emerge from the annals of history. The political and religious landscape of King Tut's reign was rife with intrigue, power struggles, and shifting allegiances. If we go with the theory that King Tut was murdered, several key figures emerge as potential culprits. I. The seasoned advisor and successor to King Tut, A's rapid rise to power in the aftermath of the young king's death is suspicious. His subsequent marriage to King Tut's widow, Tutankhamun, further solidified his position. But did he orchestrate this series of events by eliminating the young pharaoh to clear his path to the throne? Horemheb. As the head of the Egyptian army, Horemheb wielded significant power and influence. His ambitions are evident in his actions following King Tut's death. After a brief reign by Ai, Horemheb assumed the throne and embarked on a campaign to erase the memories of his predecessors, including King Tut. Was this an attempt to obliterate any evidence of foul play? The priests. The religious upheaval initiated by Akhenaten, King Tut's predecessor, had profound implications for the traditional Egyptian religious order. King Tut's efforts to restore the old gods might not have sat well with all factions. The powerful priests, once sidelined by Akhenaten's monotheistic reforms, had much to gain from King Tut's demise if they felt his efforts were not in their favor. Tutankhamun. While it's hard to imagine, some theories suggest that King Tut's wife might have had reasons to want him gone. Her actions after his death, especially her desperate pleas to foreign rulers, hint at a complex web of palace intrigues. Was she an unwilling participant in a larger conspiracy? Or was she trying to escape a fate orchestrated by others, foreign factions? The 18th dynasty was a period of geopolitical tensions. Egypt's interactions with neighboring powers, such as the Hittites and the Mitanni, were marked by diplomacy, skirmishes, and intrigue. Could a foreign power have seen an advantage in destabilizing Egypt by eliminating its young ruler? Some theory, however, suggests King Tut's death was not deliberate, but rather an accident, in fact, in a chariot accident. The mummy of King Tutankhamun has been subjected to numerous examinations using modern technology. In 2005, a CT scan of the mummy revealed a fracture in the left leg, just above the knee. This fracture was not healed, suggesting that it might have been a fatal injury. The location and nature of the fracture are consistent with an injury that could be sustained in a chariot accident. If the chariot wheel passed over his leg or if he was thrown off at high speed, such an injury is plausible. Moreover, the CT scan also showed that the chest wall and front part of the rib cage were missing. While some argue that this might have been the result of the embalming process, others believe it could be evidence of a traumatic injury, like being crushed by a chariot. Chariots played a significant role in ancient Egyptian society, especially among the royalty and military. They were symbols of power and prestige and were used in warfare, hunting, and sport. King Tut, being a young and potentially adventurous ruler, might have taken part in chariot riding, which was a common pastime for pharaohs. This makes the possibility of a chariot accident more likely. When Howard Carter discovered King Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, among the treasures were 6 dismantled chariots, each designed for different purposes, including war and ceremonial use. The presence of these chariots indicates the importance they held in King Tut's life. Some of the chariots showed signs of wear and repair, suggesting they were used regularly. One might wonder if King Tut died in such a dramatic fashion, why was there no record of it? The ancient Egyptians believed in the afterlife and often avoided mentioning negative events or untimely deaths, especially concerning their pharaohs. They might have considered a chariot accident as an inauspicious event, not fitting for a pharaoh's legacy. Thus, they could have intentionally left out this detail from the historical records. While the chariot accident theory is compelling, it's essential to consider counter-arguments. Some researchers believe that King Tut's injuries might have been post-mortem, inflicted during the embalming process, or due to the tomb's discovery. Others argue that the young pharaoh had a clubbed foot, making it unlikely for him to ride a chariot. Genetic studies have also suggested that King Tut had malaria, which could have contributed to his death. However, the chariot accident theory offers a tangible explanation. The combination of physical evidence from the mummy, the significance of chariots in ancient Egyptian culture, and the artifacts from the tomb provide a compelling case for this theory. But there is another plausible cause of King Tut's death: genetic disorders. The basis for this theory primarily stems from the study of his family lineage and the mummies of his immediate predecessors. The ancient Egyptian royal family was known for its practice of intermarriage, particularly between siblings, to maintain the purity of the royal bloodline. Such marriages, while culturally and religiously significant, can lead to severe genetic complications. King Tutankhamun's parents were siblings, and this close genetic relationship could have resulted in the young pharaoh inheriting multiple genetic disorders. Modern scientific techniques have allowed researchers to study King Tut's remains in detail. DNA analysis conducted on his mummy revealed evidence of multiple malarial infections, which would have weakened his immune system. However, more importantly, the genetic studies pointed towards several congenital flaws. These genetic anomalies could have made him susceptible to various diseases and might have contributed to his physical frailty. One of the most noticeable physical deformities observed in King Tut's mummy is his clubfoot. A clubfoot, or talipes equinovarus, is a congenital condition where the foot is twisted out of shape or position. This would have made it difficult, if not impossible, for him to walk without assistance. In support of this observation, many walking sticks and staves were found in his tomb, suggesting that he relied on them for mobility. The presence of this congenital condition strengthens the argument for genetic disorders being a significant factor in his health and, possibly, his death. Further supporting the genetic disorder theory is the evidence of Koehler disease 2, a rare and painful foot condition in King Tut's left foot. This condition, combined with his clubfoot, would have made mobility a significant challenge for the young pharaoh. The physical pain and the inability to participate in regular activities like hunting or chariot riding, which were essential for pharaohs of his time, could have further weakened his overall health. In addition to his foot conditions, imaging studies of King Tut's mummy have shown signs of severe bone necrosis, particularly in his knee joints. This condition, where bone tissue dies due to a lack of blood supply, could have been a result of a traumatic injury or a genetic condition. Given the absence of any recorded history of significant injuries, the latter seems more plausible. Another compelling piece of evidence comes from the depictions of the pharaoh in various sculptures and artifacts. Many of these representations show King Tut with an elongated skull, a feature that some researchers believe could be a sign of Marfan syndrome, a genetic disorder that affects the body's connective tissue. People with Marfan syndrome often have long fingers and toes, and they can suffer from heart problems. While the elongated skull could also be a stylistic choice or a result of head binding, a common practice in some ancient cultures, the possibility of it being indicative of a genetic disorder cannot be dismissed. The theory that King Tut died from a genetic disorder is fascinating because it reveals the hidden consequences of royal incest. Incest was practiced by some ancient Egyptian dynasties to preserve the purity of their bloodline and to maintain their divine status. However, this practice also increased the risk of genetic abnormalities and diseases among their offspring. King Tut was a product of this practice, and he paid the price with his health and life. And according to another theory, King Tut died of a common cause today: malaria. Malaria is a mosquito-borne infectious disease caused by parasitic protozoans belonging to the Plasmodium type. It has been a significant health threat in many parts of the world, including ancient Egypt. Symptoms of malaria include fever, fatigue, vomiting, and headaches. In severe cases, it can cause yellow skin, seizures, coma, or death. The theory that King Tut died of malaria is based on several pieces of evidence. DNA analysis. In 2010, a team of scientists conducted a detailed examination of King Tut's mummy using advanced DNA techniques. Their findings, published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, revealed traces of Plasmodium falciparum, the most deadly of the malaria parasites, in his system. This was a groundbreaking discovery, as it provided direct evidence of the presence of malaria in King Tut's body. Multiple strains of malaria. The same DNA analysis also revealed that King Tut had been infected with multiple strains of the malaria parasite. This suggests that he had suffered from repeated bouts of the disease over his lifetime, which could have weakened his immune system and made him more susceptible to other illnesses. Other health issues. King Tut had several other health problems, as revealed by various examinations of his mummy. He had a cleft palate, a clubfoot, and bone necrosis, which is a condition where the bone tissue dies due to lack of blood supply. These health issues could have made him more vulnerable to the effects of malaria. A weakened immune system, combined with a severe bout of malaria, could have been fatal. Malaria was prevalent in ancient Egypt. The Nile River, with its annual flooding, created ideal breeding grounds for the Anopheles mosquitoes, which are the primary vectors for the transmission of the disease. Historical records and inscriptions from that time mention fevers, which could be a reference to malarial fevers. The presence of the disease in the region and the period makes it plausible that King Tut could have contracted and succumbed to it. Earlier theories about King Tut's death revolved around the possibility of a violent injury, such as a chariot accident or assassination. However, detailed CT scans and other examinations of his mummy have ruled out any significant traumatic injury as the cause of death. This further strengthens the case for a disease like malaria being the culprit. Some studies suggest that other members of King Tut's immediate family might have also been affected by malaria. This includes his father, Akhenaten, and possibly his grandfather, Amenhotep III. If malaria was present in his family, it increases the likelihood that King Tut was also exposed to the disease. Ancient Egyptians were aware of the symptoms of malaria and had some treatments for fevers and related symptoms. They used various herbs and natural remedies, some of which might have had anti-malarial properties. However, their understanding of the disease was limited, and they did not have the means to prevent mosquito bites effectively or treat the disease's root cause. This lack of effective prevention and treatment would have made King Tut more vulnerable to the disease. More chilling, however, is the possibility that King Tut might have been buried before he was truly dead. Firstly, the condition of King Tut's mummy provides some clues that support this theory. When Howard Carter and his team discovered the tomb in 1922, they noted that the mummy appeared to have been hastily embalmed. The process of mummification in ancient Egypt was a meticulous one, often taking up to 70 days to complete. However, in the case of King Tut, the embalming process seemed rushed. Another piece of evidence is the series of curses or misfortunes that befell those who entered King Tut's tomb. While many dismiss these as coincidences or the result of natural causes, some believe that they might be connected to the young pharaoh's untimely burial. If King Tut was buried alive, it's possible that he or the priests who conducted the burial invoked protective spells or curses to guard against tomb robbers or those who might discover the truth.